What's going on, everyone? Black Ops 6 and Call of Duty have a couple of serious problems I wanted to talk about in today's video, with a few of the main ones being skill-based matchmaking and reverse boosting, as well as a couple other issues that we're going to talk about in today's video. So we're going to discuss all of these as well as my final thoughts on Black Ops 6. And one of my goals in today's video is to answer the question, is reverse boosting cheating? So let's get right into the video. After a long time spent on the beta, and I mean a long time, I've narrowed down my three biggest worries to the maps, the spawns, and the anti-cheat. In my opinion, if these three things can get locked down leading up to the Black Ops 6 full release, we're in for probably one of the best Call of Duties we've had in a long time. The core gameplay is there, but those three issues, again, maps, spawns, and anti-cheat, are what's truly going to hold this game back from being one of the greats. And I know skill-based matchmaking wasn't even in my top three issues, and if you watch one of my previous videos, you see me explain that I don't really care, especially when it comes to my experience with skill-based matchmaking. And I guess before we go and talk about my biggest concerns with Black Ops 6 that I mentioned earlier, we should still address the problem with skill-based reverse boosting and two-boxing. So if you haven't heard of reverse boosting or two-boxing, it's something that comes up around this time every year when people are going back to their favorite Pub Match YouTubers and realizing that their lobbies don't quite look the same as theirs. But this happens everywhere. You're scrolling through TikTok or you're watching a Warzone YouTuber or something like that. A lot of the times it's swept under the rug as well, or kind of just taken as something that we have to get used to. But to go back and explain it, essentially reverse boosting is tanking your stats so that you get placed in easier lobbies, and two boxing is doing the same thing, but partying up with a brand new account so that when you search for lobbies, you get the skill-based matchmaking of the new account, as the game is still trying to find out if they're really as bad as their stats say they are. And what people are doing is using these low stats to get them into easier lobbies to get better gameplays, more nukes, so on and so forth. Essentially what they're doing is acknowledging skill-based matchmaking and saying, hey, if you're going to try to force me to be in these lobbies, I'm going to game the system and I'm going to change things up to be in my favor. JGod actually tweeted an example of what this looks like. This is a heavily reverse boosted lobby in the Black Ops 6 beta. He didn't say if it was specifically reverse boosting or two boxing, but they're kind of both the same thing in my eyes. And essentially, as you can see, as the clip plays out, he's able to go into a contested hardpoint and not get taken out. So there's people in the hill that don't really know what's going on. They're unable to keep up with his movement. There's essentially chaos happening in the hill, and he survives with his life after that amount of time. And if you are like me and you grind a lot of the beta and you have a decent KD, this is not what your lobbies look like. You're not even able to get into the hill before being taken out. People are just posted up. They're actually shooting their gun. They're aiming their gun. This is not a familiar lobby to me by any means. And this is basically what people are doing with two boxing and reverse boosting. These are the lobbies that content creators or even just gamers that want easier lobbies would go to nuke or increase their KD by a ton or something like that. And it ended up leading into an even bigger conversation on Twitter, as C9M's tweeted out, I honestly have zero respect for people who two-box. It literally frustrates me. Don't understand how you find it rewarding. So this resonated with a lot of people, got a decent amount of likes, myself included, and started this conversation again of if it's cheating, if it's scummy, or what are the implications of two boxing and reverse boosting on the Call of Duty scene as a whole. I did end up responding saying it should be bannable, which is a little bit harsher than how I actually feel about it, but I wouldn't be upset if it ended up getting banned, to be honest. But yeah, there's a lot of people that see both sides of the argument scrolling down through the comments. Frizz ended up responding with more of the pro two box POVs. He said, you should feel this way about skill-based matchmaking, not the people who manipulate it. Two-boxing is irrelevant without skill-based matchmaking. And I agree to an extent. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, about how the people who manipulate the system are saying, okay, skill-based matchmaking is manipulating the system against me, so why not manipulate the system for me? But the problem that I see with two-boxing and reverse boosting is not necessarily in-game. It's when somebody posts YouTube videos or TikToks or something like that of them completely going off, dropping double or triple nukes and not even taking any damage throughout their whole gameplay, and then pretending like that is a normal lobby that other people could possibly get into. Think of it this way. Nowadays, in PC Call of Duty, a lot of people are cheating. This is kind of me going off the deep end, but bear with me here for a second. With crossplay on, people cheat in PC Call of Duty. If you're playing against somebody and they read you perfectly or snap directly onto your head, you can't compliment them. You think in the back of your mind they might be cheating, so I can't even gas up their gameplay that much, even if they may or may not be cheating. It's the same thing with these clips in these YouTube videos. Even if somebody isn't two-boxing or isn't reverse boosting, you can't compliment their gameplay because it might look like they're playing against bots. And it's hard to be impressed by what somebody's doing when they might be playing against people that have like a 0.5 KD. And full stop, That's its own argument. Another point we need to talk about in the same vein is audience manipulation. If somebody is blatantly reverse boosting or blatantly two boxing and not being upfront with their audience about it, let's say they're a streamer or a content creator or a TikToker, is that not equal manipulation of their audience that it is of skill-based matchmaking? Now, don't get me wrong, there are content creators that do reverse boost and are very open about it, and I think that's the way to be. If you aren't upfront about it in your videos, you're essentially lying about it, leading other people to believe that either you're better than you are or that their lobbies would look like that if they were to hop on the game and play, and that's simply not the case. And that leads me to my opinion on two boxing and the two boxing problem, is that if I don't have a strong opinion on skill-based matchmaking, I can't really have that strong of an opinion on two boxing. I think it's scummy, but I don't think it's cheating. And what I really don't like is when people do it without being upfront about it. It takes all but 2 seconds to say, hey, I reverse boosted this game for content. I wanted easier lobbies so I could try out this new gun. It's not hard to do, and you won't be lying to your audience. But let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. And the other thing is, I can't sit here on a high horse talking down on people that two box. Like I haven't previously danced the line of clickbaiting in titles or thumbnails. Being a content creator is sometimes finding that line. So basically what I'm trying to say is don't witch hunt people that you think might be two boxing or reverse boosting. That's not necessarily going to solve the problem. And if somebody is, have it in yourself to forgive them if they grow or change from that experience. Now we'll actually full stop on all the reverse boosting and the two boxing. Let's talk about my 3 actual problems with Black Ops 6. Number 1 being the maps. We can actually go to Treyarch's tweet. What they said is, for those curious about our map size variety at launch, the majority of Black Ops 6 core 6v6 maps are medium sized, similar in size to Raid or Summit. So there are 16 multiplayer maps at launch, which we've broken down by size below. Here we have the list, including the ones that we played. Skyline is a medium, Rewind is a medium, Scud is a medium. We have Babylon, which we played, that was a small, Derelict is a small, and then we have the strike maps, Pit, Gala, and Stakeout. When we go back to these maps, especially with competitive in mind, I could see Rewind being potentially viable, although it's not necessarily my favorite map for pubs. I think Skyline will definitely be in the competitive rotation for all 3 modes, as it is a very good map, and definitely the best one that we've had in the beta. Scud, in my opinion, will not be in competitive, and then the other maps are way too small. Maybe Derelict for a hardpoint or a search and destroy, but in my opinion, it might be too small to make that work. And that's where the worry comes in. If we remove Scud, keep in Rewind, keep in Skyline, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maps that we're looking for to have our entire competitive variety. And it's very possible that some of these maps aren't good, right? So here's where the worry comes in. If these maps don't cut it, what are we in for a competitive year of Call of Duty? Are we going to be trying to play on small maps like Babylon, Hardpoint, and Search and Destroy? There's a lot of weight resting on the shoulders of these maps that we haven't seen, and of course on Treyarch's shoulders as well, for these maps to be good. And if that ends up not being the case, then we're going to have some adapting to do. But like I said, at the very least, we've seen one good map that could be used for all 3 modes, of course depending on where bomb sites are and control points are, and maybe some adjusting with the hardpoint spots and the hardpoint spawns, which of course will bring us to the second point. And my second biggest worry for Black Ops 6 leading up to launch is the spawn system. Even with the spawn tweaks and spawn adjustments, I still kind of found myself spawning in places I didn't think I should be, either behind opponents, beside opponents, or in front of opponents, and that really worries me heading up to launch. And now with maps out of the way, my number 3 problem leading up to launch of Black Ops 6 is going to be the anti-cheat. Now we have seen the anti-cheat take effect in the Black Ops 6 beta. Notably, I never ran into any blatant cheaters in the BO6 beta, and I played a lot of hours, so I would consider that a good thing. However, I saw clips of a bunch of cheaters in the Black Ops 6 beta, and even worse, I saw people that aren't cheating get either banned or shadow banned while playing BO6. I'm all for trying to catch more cheaters on Call of Duty, but when it gets to the point of legitimate players getting banned, I'd rather have way less true positives than have a ton of false negatives, if that makes sense. So long story short, what the anti-cheat team needs to do at Ricochet is fully focus on those true positives. Don't ban people or don't punish people for just playing the game normally and getting reported when they aren't cheating in the first place. That doesn't necessarily make sense, and a lot of times those are your true grinders, your true players that are either really good at the game or play a lot of the game, enough so to the point of being reported by others. And those are not the people that you want to punish just because other people are cheating. This will become even more of an issue as we lead into ranked play dropping. Not necessarily for me, as I'm going to stay on PS5 with crossplay off, just because I don't see an end to the cheater problem at all in Call of Duty. But for the general population and the pro players that are going to be grinding ranked, it's not always feasible to just buy a separate console, only play ranked play just to avoid cheaters. Not to mention, keyboard and mouse players are pretty much unable to play on console in the first place. So let me know what you think in the comments down below when it comes to the maps, the spawns, and the anti-cheat. As I said earlier, this is truly where Black Ops 6 can go from a good game to a great game. So of course, stay tuned for everything Black Ops 6 on this channel. Like, subscribe, and I will catch you next time at lunchtime.